Hey, everybody, welcome to an all new episode of Matinee Social, where today we'll be discussing Spider Man A Brand New Day. So grab your popcorn and take a seat. Let's go. So, cast. Spider Man A Brand New Day was released on July 31st. It starred Tom Holland as Peter Parker Spider Man, Zendaya as MJ, Trammell Tillman from Apple's Severance playing
Okay,
Bill
nice.
Metzger,
Yes.
Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner, the Hulk, Sadie Sink as Jean Grey, and John Bernthal as the Punisher, along with others. The Friday debut, it made 168 million from just over 4,400 North American screens, making it the largest single day box office haul in US history. According to Deadline, Spider Man Brand New Day has earned $355 million, almost beating Avengers Endgame of $357 million. But with all of that said,
Hmm.
I know both you and I went to go watch Spider Man um, this weekend, and I would like to ask you what your thoughts were.
Well, thank you for asking. 'Cause, like, I did see the movie this past weekend, and I have to say that everybody did a very good job. It was like good to great. It was like
Hmm.
Tom Holland has like I've strongly felt that he of the three actors that have portrayed Spider-Man to date, like I personally feel like he is the best one. It's like and he does the best job. It was like not that Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire were terrible. I just think Tom Holland outshines them because I think part of it is his casting just kind of felt right. So he played the character. He was young when he played the character and got to see him grow into the role. Not that Toby and Andrew were old men when they took the role, but at the same time, for me, their versions of Peter Parker were specifically their versions and not how I personally associated Spider Man.
Hmm.
So, that aside, all the supporting cast as well, Zendaya does an excellent job because she's awesome in everything she does. Jacob Batalon, who plays Ned, he was great. Tremel Tillman was good. Sadie Sink, she did great with her part as Dream Gray. And before we go further, viewers, um, Jean Grey's casting in this movie was like the worst kept secret out there. However, I want to say going forward, besides casting, we will be digging into spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie and you want to go in as cold as possible, come back to us after you've seen it and then, watch our discussion. But there are going to be spoilers in this. So I'm apologizing beforehand. So getting to the meat of it, this movie is what I think a lot of the other MCU related movies should do, which is tell
Hmm.
smaller stories. Everything doesn't have to be a universal shaking event. And it was like you can have the X-Men for a movie when you eventually, have finally recast it and all them. Have them fight one guy that is
Hmm.
just trying to do some terrible stuff. Like if you fought the Juggernaut as he tries, it's like, hey, I'm gonna go across the country and rob a bunch of banks. Can't stop me. I'm the Juggernaut. And they have to be cool with that. I will be fine with that because
Right.
it's just like a smaller scale. Everything doesn't have to be the universe is in peril and it's up to us to stop it.
Hmm.
That's one thing I appreciated that they did a really great job. I feel of picking up from the last Spider-Man movie where Doctor Strange cast a spell. It was like not only is everybody going to forget Peter Parker as Spider-Man, everybody's going to forget Peter Parker. So
Hmm.
nobody knows who you are. So he essentially has to, you see him isolated completely, whereas like,
Hmm.
he throws himself into his Spider-Man work and the unbalance of just being is like, oh, I miss my friends, I miss my girl, but it's safer for them to not know me. It was like the ramifications of him making that decision for everybody else and him being isolated. I think they
Hmm.
did a really good job of telling that story.
Hmm.
And the Jean Grey of it all, It was like, okay, you've introduced one X-Man, and it's like, that's fine. And her being not necessarily a villain is like she's just looking for her sister.
Right.
She wanted to find out what happened to her sister. These people had the information she needed, and she was trying to rescue a family member.
Right.
So it was like, that it was like, her being as the quote unquote villain of the movie. It's not so much a villain as just like, she was angry because I feel like a lot of that stuff is like you gotta ask her a question. It's like, what are you doing? And she's like, what are you doing? It was like, why are you doing this? It was like
Well,
instead of jumping into I gotta stop you because you're doing some, it's like everything you're doing is horrible and terrible. It's like you could have just asked, it's like, hey, when you tried to pop into his head and couldn't do it, you could have said,
right.
was like, why are you doing this? And then it's like, just had conversations where it's like, could have eliminated a lot of this stuff, but that fits in the Spider-Man's character leaping before he looks, and then all of a sudden,
Hmm.
like, oh, you know what? It's my
Oops.
dad. It's my dad. Let me go fix that. Sorry about
Right.
that. Sorry,
Right.
guys. So that was cool. Final thoughts. It was like the cameos that were in it were, I think, handled well. It was
Hmm.
like it made sense. It was like the Punisher being there. It's like
Hmm.
also a street level kind of hero. Made sense for him to be there. Him going to Dr. Banner to ask about the mutation that he was currently going through. That made sense for him to reach out to somebody that's there, but then they were not, overwhelming parts of the thing. Spider-Man still had to do his other stuff. And then,
Right.
the ramifications of him inventing the suppression tech, which is like, oh, so we can use this to shut people down. Thanks, Spider-Man. I was like,
Right.
oh, sorry guys. I kinda might have goofed on that one too, guys.
Whoops. Right.
That's on me, guys. It's over here. That's on me. So, it's like to see how that plays in later on. It was like hopefully to see if there's something with that. So yeah, I mean it's like they did some good stuff. It's like the only thing I didn't like, I've never been a fan of their organic web shooter stuff. It was like to me, it was just
Hmm.
like, all right. It was like he's a smart kid. Let him invent some stuff and let him have the inventions. Because it runs out. Because now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't shoot the organic webs. I need a sandwich to get that
Oh
stuff back up
yeah.
or something. It's like I don't know. It was like, oh, they busted my web shooters. Now I got to figure something else out. No, oh, I ran out. So I was like, I'm gonna need 20 minutes to relax and get the web shooter fluid back up, guys. I don't want to go into how this works, but it's like let's relax. It's like I'm not a fan of that, but other than that, it was like I really liked it. But what did you think? How did you think?
I loved it. I honestly thought it was like their best Spider-Man flick. I thought Tom Holland was absolutely amazing. I feel like his maturity in this storyline um was well done or well portrayed, especially in showing, how he had to um allow, MJ and Ned, how he had to let them go, and try and live, life without him. His suffering that he did quietly, I thought was well done. I loved how they showed the different viewpoints, the different angles and the action scenes. I loved the red ninjas.
Oh, the
And
hand.
even how they stopped the fight scene for a half a second with Peter Parker saying that's so cool, because it was. So I just think that was, and for those of you who aren't familiar with them, yes, it is the Hand, and they're a group of assassins who try and mess with the other superheroes. I think, didn't Daredevil fight them
Yeah,
before
they're
or whatever?
yeah, they're primarily Daredevil villains. So
Mhm.
just seeing the hand in the trailers led a lot of people to think that Daredevil was in this movie somewhere. Surprise, surprise. No, he's not in this movie.
Mm-mm.
So, but having the hand there, and then allegedly for Daredevil Born Again season 3, the hand is supposed to be a big part of that.
Hmm.
So fallout from this movie may dip into that,
Hmm.
which is fine. I'm always happy to see a bunch of ninjas back, but it's like, and then until Peter, reconciled both parts of his life, it was like they was pretty much giving him that work, and it's like that was nice. But like I said, it was like I'm fine with that.
I thought it was really, really. I'm glad that they took the time and kept going back to the drawing board when there were things, I guess, in the script that they weren't liking too tough, like that they didn't agree with, that they kept saying
Mm,
no. So I'm glad, given what was ultimately put out, I'm glad that they took that time um and voiced those concerns and made it the movie that we were able to see this weekend. I thought it was so well done.
right.
um so
Yeah,
go ahead,
like
I'm sorry.
them, like from whether it's Tom Holland working with Chris Nolan on the Odyssey and made him go into the writer's room, is like, hey guys, let's punch this up a little bit. Peter here being upset that he dropped his coffee. I think we can lose that. Maybe give him a little bit more emotional oomph. But you got to think like whatever the conversations were, it was like you see the end result of it.
Right.
There's questions that I have for the cameos that were there. Like it was nice to see Gene DeWolf added, although that could possibly end up not working out too good. But it was like for her, I was like, I'm not gonna go deep lore, but it was like, yeah, it was like so seeing her was nice. Um,
Hmm.
the Punisher kind of like, hey, I got a friend now, and Spider Man is my friend. And it
Yeah.
was like, it was like I realized he's my friend after I put a bullet in him, but
Right.
he's
My
my friend.
goodness.
Was like, all right, Frank. Was like, I guess maybe I'll need you as a friend. It was
Right.
like, just text me. It was like we don't need to be pals. So that was nice, and that'll be curious to see because I know John Bernthal has a lot of input in that character, or with
Hmm.
that character rather. So I'll be curious to see that the next time you see the Punisher, does that follow through with
Hmm.
him not necessarily lightening up, but at the same time making different choices. Where it's like, oh yeah, it's like I'm killing everybody. Yeah, maybe I'll just wound this guy. So it's like we'll see that, and then I'll also be curious to see what they do with the Hulk going forward,
Right.
because if classic Savage Hulk is now back in the mix, not only do you have to keep Banner on every type of drug known to man, you got to make sure he's always happy, and then eventually it's like
But
what do you
is he
do?
though? Because that was the whole reason why when Peter Parker came to him and was asking him questions with regard to being able to suppress different parts of the DNA, he looked at him and he was like, "Well, what you're doing is can you be able to suppress any elements of any superhero or a bad person or whatever?" So it's basically it was tech that he didn't want falling into the wrong hands.
Well, like
Obviously,
he was telling him the moral implications of it.
right.
That was like
Hmm.
ultimately is like, well, who decides what's good and what's not? Who decides
Right.
what's useful and what's not? It was
Hmm.
like, who do it was like if I'm sitting here and I was like, you know what, Banner, I'm gonna put this thing on you because I don't need my property values going up or down, or
Hmm.
I'm not paying for your destruction. So you put that on him. And then there's like, oh man, I wish we had the Hulk to take care of this threat. There's like, hey Banner, sorry, I'm just gonna take this off, and you go do what you do. And he changed back, we'll slap it on again. It
Right.
was like, it's like that's no good. But one of the things Banner said is when Jean was in his head that she broke something. So it's like
Yeah.
when you had Professor Hulk and all of the other stuff, it was like whatever she broke, basically like there's been a lot written with the Hulk where they were like essentially it's not just, Banner and Banner when he's angry, they are two separate personalities. You
Right.
have Banner and you have the Hulk. And now
Right.
the Hulk is loose and the Hulk decides like, hey man, I'm coming outside. It was like you might not be able to lock that down. And then that's a problem because
Right.
especially it's like, oh, well, the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. So what is his upper level of angry? That's another problem too. So it was like we keep punching him in the face and he just keeps getting madder. I think
Right.
maybe we should just, ask him if he wants to have some coffee and sit down and it's like, do you want a Coke? It was like, sit down, Coke. We can talk about this.
That reminded
So
me of the scene when the Hulk came out. He turned around and he looked at who he is. Spider-Man said, I didn't know you could get that back.
Right, because he ain't been that big in so long, and it's like
Right.
if Spider-Man wasn't around him. So yeah, so that was cool. And it's just like, what do you do with this? Like, you got two other Avengers movies coming no matter what else. What do you do with that? And I was also happy to see Yelena back. So it was like, it was like, I do having her as Black Widow, I do not miss Scarlett Johansson. And I love Scarlett Johansson, but I was like,
Mhm.
I like Yelena a lot. So seeing her back in some form is always nice. And her office being, a spa where she just sits. So it was like, okay. It
Yeah,
was like
pretty much.
but it's fine. It
Right.
was like that makes sense. So yeah, so I'm not gonna question that too much. But yeah, it was very good. Looking forward to what's next.
Mhm. I'm curious to see how this feeds into what we're looking forward to in December, with
Mhm.
the Avengers. So,
Yeah,
um,
there's a couple of different ways that they can go with
mhm,
that post credit stinger,
mhm,
and it's like whether that's Peter being shunted into space into that whole situation, or a totally different Spider-Man that's just picked up on is like, I don't know. So
mhm.
I know that they are eager or interested or have had behind the scenes talks of introducing the live Miles Morales. So like
Oh, that would be
so
cool.
that could possibly be something, but
Mhm.
I don't know. It was there's still, to me, there's still a lot of work, and introducing Miles is something that, like, if Tom Holland said this is the last time I'm doing it,
Right.
if you introduce Miles, to me that makes sense. But I don't know if they're gonna do that. And then it's like, and we want to do a movie with both you guys together again, and you pass the torch. So I don't know. So I'll be curious to see how they eventually introduce Miles, but we'll see.
I'd be curious too, but I will say I do like the animated versions.
Yeah.
I think those are so well done. Um, but that aside, I do have one question.
Sure.
So when Peter Parker and MJ kissed, and and um they portrayed that it unlocked her memory of Peter Parker. Were you at all fooled by it, or did you already know it wasn't?
No, it was like, because it's like it's not a Disney picture. It was like I already knew. It was like when she was talking and she was like, everything else that was like, Doctor Strange is a pretty crappy sorcerer if oh, true love's kiss just broke it out. It's like, I knew Jean was playing. It was like
Oh,
he got into Zendaya's head, and it was like, all right. It was like, so I knew that was happening. It was like, I was not fooled. No, that
I
was not.
was. I was like, oh, that's so cute.
You're
Of
a hopeless
course.
romantic. That's what that is. It was like me being a cynic. It was like, he's an idiot. It was like he wants this. Like he wanted it so
Of
bad.
course. Hmm.
Was it made it kind of like, it was like, for those that had hearts, it made it heartbreaking. That is
Hmm.
like he wanted it, and
For
then
those that had hearts.
Gene was like, yeah, no, this it's not going down, buddy. He's like, you gotta be smarter than this. It
I mean,
was
but
like,
his desire to have her back in his life, um, but not ruin her life, um, is what he struggled with. But his love for her obviously is unambiguous. Like
yeah, his love is
he
there, but then
yeah.
it was like his logic is flawed,
Well,
because it's like, oh, I can't be Spider-Man and really be happy and have you guys in my life because my life is so dangerous. It was like, I hate to tell you, boss, but they live in New York. And it was like every 22 feet, there's some kind of superhero or supervillain tossing a car down the street or blowing up a building. So them just living in New York
right,
is a problem for them. So it's like their life is in danger all the time anyway, whether you're Spider-Man or not.
right.
And then there's also the supervillain logic of, is like, oh, hey, I don't know your loved one, I'm gonna kill them. It's like, well, thanks. So, because they were the only anchor point that I had and reason for living. So now, not only am I'm gonna stop you from what you're doing, it's gonna be a lot worse for you and everybody else. So then at the supervillain teams meeting, it was like, who's the fool that killed Spider-Man's family and friends? It was like, so now this guy is 24/7 going after us. We can't breathe. It was like he put Tommy in the hospital. It was like Tommy's got two broken legs, and his arms are where his back should be. It was like, who did this? Who thought this was a bright idea?
Got
It was
this.
like, who thought this was right? So
All right, one last
that
question.
stuff is, like, all right, but yeah.
One last question. Oh goodness, I almost forgot it. When Jean was jumping from individual to individual, and she was like, "You can see me," or you're the only one that's his spidey sense or whatever was able to made him able to see her moving from person to person or whatever. When he lost that ability, and I'm just curious, when he lost that ability, did you see it translate on this? Because I feel like initially you were able to see the movement, like you were able to follow because he was able to follow. And then it seemed like at some point, because when he lost it, you as the viewer also lost it. Or is
Yeah.
that just me?
No, it was like, I think it was a decent, like, again, like, I would have to take a second viewing to
Hmm.
really look at that. But I think they did a good job, because when he was fighting Scorpion and he was talking to him, as his powers were more on the spidery side
Hmm.
of his personality, where he couldn't control it, and then Scorpion, well, she through Scorpion said, "Oh, you can't see me now." It was like, I thought they did a decent job with that, because you never really knew when she left Scorpion for real until
Right.
after he was webbed to the car.
Hmm.
And then he was like, "Oh, hey," and then he was kind of still. Spider-Man was still like, "Oh, did I hurt anybody?" It was like, "Is everybody all right?" And she
Yeah.
was like, "Yeah, no, you slammed the guy in an armored suit into a cop car and flipped it. I think the person that was driving the car might have a couple of contusions here and there."
Although,
So you had that, but I think they did a decent enough job, and just even explaining that when his eyes kind of blacked out, that
mhm,
there were certain things that he would have been able to sense or see that he could not. But I also think that's an uneven thing for his spider sense, because I figure if he's more spidery, why wouldn't his spider sense be more attuned?
gotcha. Well, yeah, that makes because I was wondering the same thing, but he's also getting used to it because remember, his senses were overwhelmed.
Yeah.
So
So it was
yeah.
like he was overwhelmed. It's like it
Mhm.
could be something, but he was just like hearing a bunch of other stuff, and
Right.
also kind of, getting a little aggressive on spider side. It was just a little aggressive. It was like, I'm not saying that Scorpion didn't need to be taken down, but one, he was being mind controlled, and two, you kind of slammed that guy around a little bit. It was like,
Oh
maybe it's
boy.
a little excessive, buddy. It was like, not
Mm.
saying that he might not have deserved a couple of lumps, but at the same time, it was like, just rein it in. Just rein it in, Spider-Man. Just rein it in.
Okay. All right. Well, I understand that there is another topic that you wish to discuss this week.
Yeah, and it kind of dovetails into this a little bit, so
Right.
apologies. It's the whole spoiler thing.
Mhm.
There has been for years a war against spoilers for certain media, be it a book, movie, TV show, whatever. And the war has gotten a little bit more minefield heavy because of, streamer reactions to certain things, and the desire for those streamers to get as many clicks as possible.
Mhm.
So they will put in the thumbnail a scene, say if it was like the first time, say if this was not a movie drop, but it was on Netflix.
Mhm.
So in their thumbnail, if there's a picture of Jean Grey doing Jean Grey stuff, and it is
Mm.
Spider-Man Brand New Day with Jean Grey, where they got her hand out and, rings around her head or something, it's like, oh, thanks, because I didn't need to know. So it was like, I was trying to go in cold, but fool that I was, I came to YouTube and here it is. So I think for some of the stuff, spoiler wise, just as a person, if you're talking to somebody and they say, "What'd you do this weekend?" "Oh, I saw Spider-Man Brand New Day." And it was like, "Oh, okay, I want to see that. Did you like it?" Your answer should be, "I really liked it," or "I didn't really care for it." But if you're going to see it, we can talk about it more after you've seen it.
Mhm.
Now, if the person says they don't care about spoilers and they want you to go into a dissertation, by all means, talk till your head explodes if that's what you got to do.
Right.
But I think at the very least that we as a group can just like, all right, if like I've just as an example, a friend of mine had seen Hail Mary and I haven't seen it yet. It was like, I do want to watch it. I just haven't found the time to carve out to sit there and watch it. Now she said that it for her, she said it was okay. And I was like, yeah, well, I haven't seen it and I still want to see it. But
Mhm.
then she decides that she wants to go in and tell me parts about it. And I'm like, hey, I haven't seen it yet. Stop talking.
Mhm.
Oh, this part, it doesn't really matter to what's going on.
It
Hey,
kind of does.
stop talking. I haven't seen it yet. Stop talking to me about it. Now, if I said that, yeah, I got no desire to see it, and then she wanted to talk all day, go ahead and talk all day. But
Mhm.
if I'm telling you I want to see this, stop friggin' talking to me. So, spoiler wise, I don't think that people should be, harmed or locked in some kind of medieval dungeon for spoiling certain things. But I think that we, as a group of movie loving, TV loving, video game, book reading, playing peoples, can have the common courtesy
Right.
of just saying, hey, I saw this and I'm
Mhm.
really, I'm anxious to talk about it. Have you seen it? Are you interested in seeing it? And then from that person's response is how much you delve into it.
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
it's just me, like I'm not saying, spoilers are terrible. It's like if you hate somebody and it's like, oh my god, I can't wait to see this Empire Strikes Back movie. Oh, Darth Vader is Luke's father. It's crazy, right? It's like all of a sudden it's like, it's like
Never saw it
that's,
coming.
that's a terrible thing to do to somebody. But at the same time, that movie is what? Almost
30
over
plus
40
30 plus.
years old?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
let's stop. It was
Mhm.
like, a couple of weeks from now, you still don't want spoilers on something, then that's fine. But something like Star Wars or I'm sorry, the freaking Odyssey,
Right.
it's 400 years, buddy. It was
Mhm.
like you ain't been interested in it then. It's like I can't. I gotta. You gotta start drawing some lines, and it's got to be like, all right, I won't talk about the movie for this story that's been around for 400 years, but you go ahead. It was like, oh, for like, I didn't. Did you go to school? It was like, did you even talk about it? It was like, were you paying attention? And
Right.
it's like, and it could be somebody is just under that rock, but
Mhm.
I'm just saying, it was like, just be kinder to folks. Consider yourself before you start talking about stuff.
Okay.
And like, it's like just that common courtesy, especially if you say you're, say, quote unquote, shared lover of movie and things like that. Just
Mhm.
consider yourself. Do you want to know what happened? There's like somebody that binged 10 episodes or something and you've only watched two and they're vibrating because they want to talk about it. It was like, would you want them to spoil the journey that you had? And if that answer is no, then let them have their journey and, just chill out.
Okay.
But
Well, cast with the
uh,
public service announcement, everybody.
yeah, sorry guys, that's just me. That's just
He's
me.
got, he's
Also,
got the
Superman's
public.
from Krypton. I hope you knew. I hope he's from Krypton. It was like if you didn't know, sorry. It was like it's been. That's like
Just
he's been around since the 30s. He's from Krypton. Everybody.
all right, everybody. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate it as we are trying to get this off of the ground. And so, with that, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening. And, hope to see you next time. Cheers, guys.
Bye, everybody.